More now on that retail deal we mentioned earlier in our program. Women's apparel retailer Ascena says that it will buy Ann Inc. Ascena, which runs brands like Dress Barn and Lane Bryant, will pay more than $2 billion for the company that owns Ann Taylor and Ann Taylor Loft. Loft will become Ascena's largest brand, accounting for 22% of the combined company's value and revenue. The deal is expected to close in the second half of this year. Shares of Ann Inc. soared nearly 20%, while Ascena fell about 1%.
And that retail deal kicks off a big week of earnings in that sector. Tomorrow we'll reportedly get quarterly results from both Home Depot and Walmart. And some of the world's most recognizable stores are facing some very big obstacles right now. Courtney Reagan has more.
While the majority of companies have already reported first quarter earnings, retailers are just ramping up. Wall Street is hoping the consumer will lift the broader economy, particularly after a number of disappointing reports, including April retail sales and estimates for first quarter GDP. But there are a number of issues that could hurt retail earnings and forecasts. Retail's first quarter is typically February through April, which means harsher than normal weather likely played a part, as well as the West Coast port congestion that's still proving an overhang for a number of companies. While the impact of a strong dollar will likely be most evident in retailers selling goods internationally, it could also impact retailers with mostly domestic operations in a number of ways. Macy's, one of the first to report and largely considered best in class, said sales in large U.S. cities took a hit from lower tourist spending. The department store's results disappointed thanks to both company-specific and other external factors. While gas prices remain lower than last year's levels, consumers aren't plowing savings at the pump back into traditional retail spending. Instead, consumers are paying down debt or building up savings. But a number of analysts expect retailers to forecast spending will improve in the second half of the year.
Looking out through the rest of the year, we do think there's more tailwinds to headwinds. So it's going to be choppy month to month, but broadly speaking, we think you're going to see a favorable consumer spending environment through the balance of the year.
Some of the tailwinds analysts are counting on: an improving labor market and wage growth. Tomorrow, Wall Street will hear from Walmart, Home Depot, TJX, and Dick's Sporting Goods. If you expect big surprises from Walmart's earnings, it's hard to turn the tide on the world's largest retailer in just one quarter. But as always, U.S. same-store sales is the key metric to watch. On Wednesday, Lowe's, Target, Williams-Sonoma, and American Eagle report. Thursday, Wall Street gets results from Best Buy, L Brands, Gap, Dollar Tree, and a number of others. Friday rounds out the week with Foot Locker's first quarter earnings report. When it comes to shopping for stocks, analysts warn it's buyer beware in the traditionally fickle retail sector. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Courtney Reagan.